Spring 1922, North Slope of Crete. Archaeologists unseal a Minoan burial chamber dated to roughly 1325 BCE. Among the royal goods was a small jar of carbonized black seeds, later identified as Nigella sativa. That same seed now sits in American grocery aisles with no official recognition. It was never banned, never discredited. Somewhere between the tomb and the present, it simply vanished from the official record. Sir Arthur Evans's field diaries from the 1922 Knossos excavation describe the opening of a royal chamber and the recovery of a sealed jar holding small, blackened seeds. Early reports in the British School at Athens catalogue noted their distinctive size and shape, tentatively assigning them to the Ranunculaceae family. Nearly a century later, scanning electron microscopy at Oxford revisited the same carbonized specimens, documenting a reticulate seed coat and curved hilum, traits consistent with Nigella sativa, though the absence of ancient DNA leaves the identification open to debate. In Egypt, Howard Carter's 1922 inventory of Tutankhamun's tomb lists sealed glass vessels and a handful of dark seeds. Museum records in Cairo catalog these as black seeds of unknown botanical origin. A chemical analysis in 2015 found thimaquinone, the signature compound of Nigella oil, in residue from one preserved ampoule. The Ebers Papyrus, written around 1550 BCE, describes a black seed prescribed for coughs and digestive troubles, using the hieratic term KHNMT, a word now linked by scholars to Nigella sativa. Across royal tombs and medical scrolls, the evidence reveals a seed that held ceremonial and therapeutic status long before it became a kitchen spice. On a clay tablet from ancient Assyria, a scribe recorded the cycle of crops that fed a kingdom. Tablet K4528, dated to the 9th century BCE, lists black cumin, simaru, alongside barley and lentils, and instructs farmers to sow the seed after the barley harvest, when the soil still held moisture. The rotation was not just about yield, it was a strategy for soil health, resilience, and sustained food supply. As centuries passed, these seeds traveled through trade and empire and found a place in the hands of healers as well as farmers. By the 1st century, Dioscorides, a Greek physician serving the Roman army, described Nigella in his De Materia Medica. He called it a small, bitter black seed used for headaches and digestive complaints. Dioscorides' text, written around 70 CE, became the standard reference for European and Middle Eastern medicine for over 1,000 years. In the Islamic Golden Age, Avicenna, physician and philosopher and author of the Canon of Medicine in 1025 CE, expanded the record. He wrote that black seed, when ground and mixed with wine, could ease asthma and improve digestion. Both men drew on a living tradition that linked field, market, and remedy. Across the ancient Near East, the Mediterranean, and Persia, the same seed moved from rotation schedules to household pharmacopoeias. The evidence, cuneiform ledgers, and Greek and Arabic medical texts shows a continuous chain, a crop valued for its adaptability and a remedy recognized in formal medical systems. This farm-to-pharmacy connection would persist for centuries, shaping how Nigella sativa was grown, stored, and used in daily life. On the margins of Mediterranean villages, black cumin seed held a quiet but steady presence. Medieval Andalusian agronomists like Ibn al-Awam described its role in crop rotations, recommending sowing Nigella sativa after wheat to restore soil and stretch resources. In the Guadalquivir Valley, records from Seville list black cumin as a staple on calcareous ridges, thriving with little irrigation and minimal labor. By the 12th century, household manuals advised boiling the seed with honey for stomach ailments, a practice echoed in kitchen gardens from Iberia to the Levant. Market ledgers from Valencia in 1245 priced black cumin at 3 maravedis per libra, placing it among the valued spices of the time. Across the Ottoman world, fiscal registers from 1580 document Nigella sativa as a smallholder crop, yielding about 0.45 kilograms per hectare, even in semi-arid Anatolia. At the Topkapi Medical Bureau in 1619, a physician's prescription called for 2 ounces of black seed oil mixed with honey applied to wounds. These details reveal a seed woven into the economics of survival, household medicine, and local trade, valued for its reliability as much as for its remedy. In 1908, the United States Department of Agriculture listed Nigella sativa in its official seed catalog under the commodity code NS08, describing it as an imported spice and medicinal seed. At the time, the USDA catalog was more than a reference. It was a signal to farmers and extension agents about which crops merited space in American fields. The inclusion of black cumin placed it among recognized minor crops, alongside fenugreek, coriander, and caraway. A few years later, the Smith-Lever Act of 1914 established the Cooperative Extension Service, creating a nationwide network of state and county agents tasked with standardizing agricultural advice. Section 2 of the Act called for a unified approach to plant products deemed economically important. As extension offices consolidated their guidance, the focus narrowed to major staples: wheat, corn, soy, and a handful of market vegetables. Crops like Nigella, valued in immigrant kitchen gardens or specialist plots, slipped to the margins. By the early 1920s, state extension bulletins began quietly omitting black cumin from their recommended rotations. Circulars in Iowa, Missouri, and Pennsylvania, which had once listed the seed for trial planting, dropped it without fanfare. No federal ban was issued. Instead, the process unfolded through incremental delisting. By 1930, the annual USDA seed catalog no longer carried NS08. The absence of a formal prohibition meant the crop was not outlawed, but it lost institutional support. The manuals that shaped what farmers grew and what county agents recommended simply stopped mentioning it. This bureaucratic pruning reflected a broader movement toward agricultural standardization. Minor heritage crops, regardless of their deep roots or household uses, faded from the official record, not by mandate, but by omission. In the decades that followed, the disappearance of Nigella sativa from extension literature set the stage for new kinds of regulatory scrutiny. But the initial vanishing act was administrative, not legal. For those considering Nigella sativa as a food or supplement, it remains important to consult a qualified clinician, especially if pregnant, taking anticoagulants, or managing blood pressure or blood sugar with medication. Federal oversight of plant-derived remedies took a decisive turn with the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1937. This statute required that any product making therapeutic claims, whether synthetic or botanical, had to be proven safe before entering the market. Section 22 of the Act defined a new drug as any substance not generally recognized as safe by qualified experts, and botanical extracts like Nigella sativa fell squarely under this language. For decades, the law's focus remained on safety. But in 1962, the Kefauver-Harris Amendment added a new threshold, not just proof of safety, but also evidence of efficacy established through well-controlled clinical studies. The amendment explicitly extended these requirements to herbal preparations, closing regulatory loopholes that had allowed many traditional remedies to circulate freely. In practice, this created a legal wall between historical use and modern medical marketing. Companies that promoted black cumin oil or seed as a treatment for specific conditions were now required to file a new drug application, a process involving years of trials and, by recent estimates, costs ranging from $1.3 to $2.6 billion per drug. Without this approval, any explicit therapeutic claim, however ancient or widely repeated, became a violation of federal law. Between 2014 and 2023, the FDA issued a series of warning letters to manufacturers distributing Nigella sativa products with unapproved health claims. These letters cited violations of both the FDCA and the efficacy clause adopted in 1962, and they demanded that companies remove statements suggesting their products could diagnose, treat, or prevent disease. The agency's language was precise. Black seed oil could be sold as a food or supplement, but not as a medicine without rigorous evidence and formal approval. This distinction between culinary tradition and regulated therapy remains at the heart of current enforcement. For consumers, the official guidance is clear. Consult a qualified clinician before using Nigella sativa if you are pregnant, if you are taking anticoagulants, or if you are managing blood pressure or blood sugar with medication. More than 1,200 scientific papers now address Nigella sativa, but only a handful meet the standards set for clinical evaluation. In 2016, a systematic review in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology surveyed 48 studies, reporting modest reductions in C-reactive protein and supporting anti-inflammatory properties. In 2020, a randomized controlled trial at King Saud University tracked 120 adults with mild hypertension. Those taking 2 grams of black seed oil daily saw average systolic blood pressure drop by 6.2 millimeters of mercury over 12 weeks. In 2021, a meta-analysis pooled results from 22 trials totaling 1,862 participants and found a mean reduction in hemoglobin A1C of 0.5 percentage points with few adverse effects. In 2022, a study from Lahore measured serum cholesterol changes after 8 weeks of supplementation, recording a 12 milligrams per deciliter decrease in LDL cholesterol. While these findings confirm some traditional uses under controlled conditions, they do not constitute regulatory approval. Nigella sativa remains classified as a food or supplement, not as a licensed therapeutic agent. Nigella sativa endures in fields where other crops falter. The plant completes its cycle in 3 to 4 months, tolerates drought, and thrives in poor soils with little fertilizer. These traits have kept it in smallholder rotations from Anatolia to South Asia, where it fills gaps between major harvests and resists local pests. Today, most global production comes from Turkey, India, and Egypt, but isolated plots still appear in American gardens and on a handful of research farms. In the U.S., less than 200 acres are under cultivation, mainly by specialty growers who value its resilience and long storage life. For them, black cumin remains a practical crop, modest in yield but reliable, adaptable, and woven into household food traditions. A garden bed of 10 square meters, sown in early spring with Nigella sativa at a spacing of 15 centimeters, can yield enough seed for a household's yearly needs. The plants require minimal water and thrive in full sun, maturing in about 4 months. Harvest when the seed pods turn dry and rattle. Then store seeds in a cool, dry place. Properly dried, they keep for up to 4 years. Before use, anyone who is pregnant, taking anticoagulants, or managing blood pressure or blood sugar with medication should consult a qualified clinician, as traditional use does not replace medical advice. Nigella sativa was never banned. It was quietly edited out of the systems that shape American food and medicine. Its 3,500-year record endures, even as regulatory frameworks lag behind science. For now, it remains a culinary seed with promise and caveats. As always, consult a clinician before use.